we got sworn in on that Sunday, and it wasn't Monday morning, the very first board meeting. I'm getting a phone call from a deputy in Smith County. It was like, hey, we've got a pursuit going down 20. There's been shots fired. I literally stepped out of the board meeting to take that phone call, and here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
So learning that process, learning all the different field reps and their personalities, and the office staff here at Tmpa.
Welcome back, viewers, watchers, listeners. I'm your host, Tyler Owen. Hope you guys are having a safe summer, and thank God the kids are back in school. I work from home occasionally, and I was going somewhat crazy with them being at the house all the time. So if you called me during that time frame of my kids being at home, I apologize. I tried to keep them locked up and chained up as much as I could, but they're back at school. And as most of you that are parents are feeling the same way that I do, I'm glad for them to be back. So not a whole lot going on here at Tmpa. We're, like I said, just coming off the heels of conference, which was a couple of weeks ago. And we are in the stages of planning next year's conference and getting prepared for the Texas Peace Officer Memorial, which will be in May. And we're going to push those dates out just as soon as we can. But I've got a guest today, one of our board of directors from the Tyler Police Department, Luke Shafer, good friend of mine in my previous area, my little region of East Texas. And so I tend to kind of speak the lingo, and we worked a lot together when I was the East Texas field rep. And so I wanted to have him come on and intro him and talk about his life of service and continued service with Tmpa, and who the hell's Luke? Get everybody to get to know you, because you tend to not that you don't want to, you haven't been able to travel the state as much as you wanted. And so some of our members in West Texas or the Panhandle or the South Texas region don't really know who Luke Shafer is. So Luke, welcome to Blue Grit, man.
Thank you for having me.
How's everything going?
Everything is wonderful.
Yeah. How long have you been on the board now?
The Tmpa board, this will be my second year.
That's cool. Well, man, we typically like to, start off with talking about you and how you got involved in law enforcement, where you grew up at, and then we'll dive off into Tmpa business and how you got intro to the board, because it's a pretty cool thing. And I knew you before you got on the board, and to see you, win the election and get on the board was a pretty neat thing. So who the hell's Luke? Let's start off with there.
Well, I grew up in a little town called Mabank, where there's more cows than there are people.
Yeah. Yep.
It is. From that point, I got to see both sides of law enforcement, and my grandfather was the sheriff of Zandt County for many years. And I just made the decision that law enforcement was the route that I was going to go. And in 2006, I joined the Tyler Police Department, and started in the organization and listening to the young officers with me that just come on board, and then the older officers. And I got them involved in the association because I like helping out my fellow officers and doing things to basically help people in need, and not just the citizens, but also my fellow.
Now, with your grandfather being the sheriff, did you have a chance to work in the jail or have any type of prior law enforcement experience before applying to Tyler PD?
No, he had retired by the time I graduated high school. I did go to work for a brief stint in Tennessee Colony. I did 3 years there.
Okay.
So that helped me out tremendously as far as getting to learn the lingo and learn how to communicate with people.
And where is Tennessee Colony in relation to Tyler?
It's southwest.
Okay.
Going towards Palestine.
Okay. Yeah. And then you started TPA and or TPD, and this kind of rolled on from there.
Yes, sir.
Talk about the early days, man, because law enforcement's changed so much since 2006, and I started in 2003 at the jail, but then was on the streets about the same time you were. So it's looking back on it, man, it's changed quite a bit with body cams and everything else that law enforcement's got to do now. Let's talk about the early days of law enforcement in comparison to now.
Heck, so our department, it's always a forward-thinking department. When I came on with Tyler PD, we had the Coban system, which you had to check out your hard drives, and that was your in-car computer and everything for you. And then we've moved on from that. And heck, I remember when I got selected for the bike team, we started wearing body cameras with the little SD card on the side, which, heck, that was, you look back at it now and you'd laugh, but that was actually probably the start of body-worn cameras. And then we transitioned into your body-worn cameras now.
Yeah.
I think
Is the mic going out?
It sounds like it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think I may be getting too far away from it.
So started off on patrol, obviously, then transitioned to the bike team. Kind of talk about your career from that point.
So when I first started the police department, we had that rule, and I'm sure you had it at your department. can't do anything until you've been on the street for a minimum of 2 years. Then you could start putting in for spots, and then you had to be a minimum of 5 years before you could even start to promote, or that was even a thought.
Well, and I think that's looking back on it, it kind of irritated me, during that 2 year period, because I'm like, man, I'm just as good as somebody else. But what it does is it establishes a good foundation, a good base. There's probably a 5, and you chime in wherever you disagree with me at, but about 5 years into law enforcement, you're just now really finding yourself. You're a cop. You're taking people's freedoms, and even though the FTO phase is 6 months, you really don't know how to be police for about 5 years into it. And so 2 years I think is a good time frame of somebody learning the profession, learning how to do the job. And so that's probably why that 2 year mark is there. But I agree with that now. And looking back on it, I damn sure didn't agree with it whenever I was doing it.
I think it's a good foundation, because when you first come on, you're just learning how to apply the law, what all of it means, and how the process goes. So you're basically drinking from a fire hose at that point. So I think a 2 year minimum is necessary just to get grounded, get your feet underneath you.
Yeah.
So I had no qualms with that, no problems at all. I worked about 4 years on the street before I put in for the bike team, which is our basically your special missions, or your group that's going to go out and do active engagement.
Yeah, and for the viewer or listener that's watching this or listening, is that you think bicycle unit, you think a metropolitan type bicycle unit. TPD's always been historically kind of used their bike unit more of as like a street crime suppression unit. So they'll deploy the bikes into a high crime area, and so if you process that, they're quiet. They're going to take proactive officers, put them in there, and that can get somewhat hairy, because if you go to you got a dope deal going on, you've got a vehicle leaving the scene, you're on bikes, and so you've got to know how to communicate. You got to know how, you got to know the city, number one, where you're going. But it's a different method and different deployment of what you would consider a normal cop, a bike unit. Correct.
So we were more of a stealth type unit, like you're saying, a street gang or street unit. And I can countless times where we would ride up on those bikes, the Treks that we use with the silent hubs, and we would ride up right in the middle of a drug transaction going down, and just start talking to them, and you see the fight or flight real quick in somebody.
Yeah.
I would say those years on the team are probably the most memorable and most rewarding part, being at the department.
Is there ever been like a specific moment where you're like, man, probably the scaredest or the most nervous you've been on that bike unit, like a major incident?
Yeah, I can think of several where we've, because once you're there in the middle of it, it's hands on. I mean, there's not a question of, the group of guys that you work with, especially on that unit, they become family. So I get to know them, and I get to know them well. My wife gets to know their wives. Our kids get to know one another. So you become a very cohesive unit. You train together, and obviously you work together. So there have been several incidents that we've had to where it was like, all right, after it was done, one of the things that we always did is a debrief afterwards, and we discussed it, and hey, this is what I liked, what I didn't like, this is what I did good, or this is what you messed up. And so we don't do that again. But I mean, it became a very cohesive unit, like I said, like a family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you're on the bike unit, and then you transition, talk about your career from the bike unit, started off in patrol again, like I said, and then the bike unit, and then navigate through us where you're kind of ended up now.
So I ended up promoting to sergeant, and I served on the patrol for several years as a patrol sergeant. And then I spent a year as a supervisor in narcotics, at which point then I promoted to lieutenant. And then I was in charge of midnight shift for about a year, and then got promoted or transitioned over to what we call the patrol response unit. So essentially what I do is I take care of the patrol shift special assignments. I have the traffic unit, our public service officers, and that's what I supervise at this point.
But you've never been on a traffic detail other than a bike patrol, right?
Correct. Never, yeah.
As a former motor cop, I can tell you probably got more gray hairs now that you have to supervise those guys than probably any other unit, because they're whitey, they can be aggressive, and they are demanding at times, and I'm sure you've dealt with that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, at what point did you feel the need to begin serving there on the TPA board and get involved with associations? It's obviously just had this conversation last week with somebody. A lot of times serving on these boards, you have a lot of people who speak up in the back and like to throw bombs from the back. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And then to be involved with in a local association, it changes your perspective. And I think it's imperative too that anybody really with any TMPA affiliation, whether it be an employee, staff, or board members, they should and it should almost be a requirement that you have to serve at the local level at some point, because it gives you that experience and the fundamentals of understanding what's needed, where the mission should maintain. And so talk about what led you to kind of get on the TPA board. It was most likely, like everybody else, a majority, we're kind of thrown to the fire of, hey, you've voluntold to do this. But looking back on it, man, it's so rewarding of some of the trials and tribulations that I think some of us have been through with local leadership.
Right. I got involved with the board. Ken Gardner, he conned me into joining the board and serving with him because he was the president at the time. But I think it really had a lot to do with just a personality, wanting to help officers and do things within our organization. And he brought me on board, and I started at that position, serving as a board member, and then eventually served in the capacity as vice president and president of our local association.
Can you talk about some of the trials and tribulations that you guys have seen through TPA, things that you guys can do better, I guess, whenever you were leading that or during the association, as far as just a local board member, not president or vice president? Talk about some of the things that you learned that you can improve on. To listener or viewer out there that may be a local president or a local vice president or just a simple board of director serving on their local association, what things have you learned over the time? Give advice as soon as they come on, they onboard, and then advice, you being the president of a fairly large association there in East Texas.
Yeah, I would say for someone just now getting on the board, whether it's state or local, the first thing that I would tell anybody is just sit back and observe everything. Don't rush into anything. Listen to what's being said, and just observe everything, take it all in, and understand the process, and develop relationships on your board and within the community as well. Serving as the president of the association, which when you're running it, I would say the most important thing is you're going to have trials and tribulations, but I would say is give it the 24-hour rule. Sit down when something's brought to you. Let it marinate for 24 hours to 48 hours before you act on it, unless it's something you just have to do right away. And then the biggest one is communication, whether that's with your board, your association, or your administration. Don't ever get to a point to where you don't have communication going down. And that's probably the biggest piece of advice is always keep that communication.
Well, speaking of communication, there's been some incidences at Tyler Police Department that could have used improvement or could have used a different. There's been some challenging situations, just like every other local association. And I'm not going to pinpoint one specific event, but we spoke on political capital, mm-hmm. and how imperative it is. Any local association has that. What has been your experience there in Tyler? And I'm just going to call it for what it is, just because I lived in that region. There is a difference now that I live in Central Texas. Mm-hmm. There's a very different perspective of racial tensions, racial situations. In the East Texas region, there's this hidden perception that all white cops are racist, or there needs to be an improvement on the law enforcement side. I don't see it as much here in Central Texas. Of course, I'm also not a police officer, but in my opinion, and I think there's been some board members that have been monumental in building some of those relationships. But what's the relationship with TPA and the locals there in the community of Tyler? Because there's over some recent events or events in the past, it seems like Tyler Police Association and the police department in general, thankfully to your administration, y'all have got some phenomenal relationships, and there's some pretty powerhouse NAACP chapters in Tyler that not saying that they would want to do ill will on TPD or cause any problems, but really, I mean, y'all have got a great relationship within your community. And so it was awesome for me to see that from my perspective in dealing with certain situations here, within the last couple of years.
Right. I will tell you that's that is the culture of the Tyler Police Department. Our chief does a wonderful job as far as driving that point home, community relationships. And it's one of those things that we do it every day. We have officers that is all they're tasked with, is going out and developing relationships with the community. And we hold church and community events as well, where our chief, our administration goes out and they sit down with the church leaders and we have those open conversations. So it's one of those things that is our culture, and that's how our police department runs. And a lot of the issues that you hear about going on around the state or even the country, we don't have those issues in Tyler. And if we do have something that comes up, or we have something that potentially could be an issue, we're out in front of it. Our chief will meet with the leaders or meet with different organizations, and we'll have that open discussion. And he will. I mean, I will say he is wonderful when it comes to developing a community relationships.
And, one thing about Tyler Police Department, again, talking about them being kind of on the forefront, they've always been really good on their social media stuff. Just like your sheriff. How long was he the sheriff of Zandt County?
My grandfather?
Your grandfather, yeah.
10 years, I think.
Okay.
11 years.
He served in the capacity in that area for a little bit too.
Yes, he started out in highway patrol.
I would promise you that your grandfather probably built relationships within the Zandt County community, that he could pick up the phone knowing that little Jimmy had a warrant, pick up the phone and call those grandparents and say, little Jimmy's got a warrant and I need him down here at the jail. And more than likely, they probably brought him down there.
Right.
The community policing it's not something new that law enforcement started just because George Floyd happened. Community policing has been a part of our culture and our profession for many, many years. What we, law enforcement, has not done a good job is broadcasting that and shedding light on really what we do on a day-to-day basis. The reality is that most people who have contact with law enforcement more frequently are those that need our assistance and need our involvement with their day-to-day operations and lives. And so we begin to build those cultures up. But back to my point is that Tyler's always been a really good they've always been really good at the forefront of putting this stuff out there and being transparent and saying, this is what we're doing, this is why, and believing in their department. Is that an accurate statement?
No, that's an accurate statement. And, to touch on that, what you were just saying about my grandfather, when he was the sheriff, there were times that he would contact people and tell them, hey, you've got a warrant. T.O., I need you to come turn yourself in, and you struggling, trying to make ends meet, don't have the money, and you know that if you go to jail, you're not going to bail out. He would actually be there to help them, give them the money, get them out so that they could go back to work so they can make their money. They can make money. He was known for being that type of person to help people that were in bad situations. Yeah,
because we've seen it. I mean, you've been in law enforcement a number of years, and we know that when we put handcuffs on somebody or take them to jail, that we are essentially prolonging their shitty situation, and it could be a situation where they were born into, with not having a dad around, not having parents that really gave a crap about their lifestyle, and so it's kind of a revolving door, and we as cops identify those people. They're the repeat offenders. They're the repeats that we know. If we get a call at the Dollar General and it's a Colt 45 theft, a beer or some T-shirts that were stolen, typically we know who those kids are going to be or who those people are going to be, and it's just it's not that we don't want to do our jobs. We know that, man, there's something got to be done, and that's the heart side of it. That's the humanizing the badge part of being a cop.
Correct.
And so again, it's not something new. The law enforcement, the community policing side, sheriffs and police officers have been doing it for a number of years. We just didn't broadcast it well enough.
Correct. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would say that and that's a common, I think that's part of the culture of East Texas, though. I mean,
yep.
Most of us grew up in a church home, and we've always been just part of helping out and being a part of the community.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you go to East Texas now, I would challenge you anywhere, you're going to have friendly service. Everybody's going to be kind, courteous. You're going to have that hospitality, that Southern hospitality.
I'll say this too. I think that the mindset or the perception of East Texas, and it's probably like this in some parts of the Panhandle, is that people from bigger metro areas travel to East Texas, and the professional side of it is sometimes questioned because it's not the culture that the East Texas aspect. And what I mean by that is this. you may take a guy from Austin, Texas, or a female from Austin Police Department or Dallas Police Department or Houston Police Department that may travel to East Texas. And the reality is some of our county sheriff's departments may be wearing Wrangler blue jeans and a button-up shirt. And to their perception, they're like, my God, what is going on here? The reality is they're getting paid $14 an hour. They're driving a squad car that's got 400,000 miles on it, and they're just going to serve their community and do their job. It's the cultural change. Not saying Tyler Police Department is far from that,
Right.
but that's the challenging situation that you in your district. For those that don't know, Luke's the Region 9 director, which goes from right at the tip of Marion County, not into Cass, but Linden is where it kind of cuts off. It goes all the way over to Tyler, and then it goes down to the most southern part of Montgomery County.
Yeah, it goes
It's a
over to the
huge
Gulf.
area. Yeah. So there's different cultures in different regions, and you can travel to Caddo Lake area, which is where I served at there in Harrison County, and you can go down to Montgomery County, and those departments are vastly different.
Correct.
Vastly different. The equipment's different. The culture's different. The pay is significantly different. And so East Texas could be its own state. Tell me all in reality.
No, that's true. You have some departments that are the citizens take very good care of them, and then you have other little departments or other departments that they're just struggling to get by. They're just little bitty 2-man departments or 1-man departments that are just, like I said, just trying to serve and protect and take care of their community.
Yeah. Well, so at what point, what year do you remember getting on? You were serving on the TPA board, dealt with some situations there, and that kind of prepared you to maybe have an interest in running for the Tmpa board. And I think that was 2019. Am I correct on that? Or 2020? It might have been sooner than that.
No,
No, it was 2022 is when it was.
yes.
What prompted you, or what sparked your interest into, okay, I think it's time. I think I want to run for the TMPA board. And you did you know what you were getting yourself into?
Well, so talking with Ken, talking with Tyler, I've gone to a lot of the conferences, and I bring that up because I think everybody should at least go to one of our conferences just to see the family dynamic and the brotherhood within the organization. But after doing that for several years, and then getting my role established at the department, I was like, Tyler told me he was going to be moving up to 4th Vice President, and we were going to have a spot open in Region 9. And I talked with him about it and talked with Ken and decided that I would run for that position.
Can you talk about the different culture aspect, or like, I guess the you mentioned drinking from a fire hose. From those that don't know, on a staff side and board side, when you become a director or become a staff member here with TMPA, the amount of emails that come across, and y'all are even privy to the legal emails. Y'all are just privy to the director emails that you guys get on notifications of board of directors on critical incidents. Talk about your perception immediately whenever you got that spot.
Well, matter of fact, it started on, and it's always been a joke that whenever I get involved in something, it's always when the rain cloud is going to come. And we got sworn in on that Sunday, and it wasn't Monday morning, the very first board meeting. I'm getting a phone call from a deputy in Smith County. It was like, hey, we've got a pursuit going down 20, and there's been shots fired. And I literally stepped out of the board meeting to take that phone call and then come back into the board meeting. I was like, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
And so learning that process, learning all the different field reps and their personalities and getting to know the group here, the office staff here at TMPA, which I love them. They are phenomenal. It was a lot to take in.
Yeah. And so for those that don't know, if you're ever involved in a critical incident, the process is that obviously call a 1-800 number, 1-800-848-2088. And you're going to have an attorney there within 2 hours. Okay. When the field reps are dispatching these attorneys and dispatching basically the resources to whatever region is going on, when everything kind of calms down and the storm calms, we are to notify the board of directors in that region immediately. And so with Luke being in Tyler, again, it's up to him if he wants to respond or not. If he can, if he's able to, great. Sometimes I think you'll agree to this. We know our regions better than anybody, and we know that the culture, some departments typically don't like a whole lot of unknowns, unknown people showing up with, and then trying to delegate. Okay, I'm not an attorney, but I'm with Tmpa. Longview is kind of one of those departments. They don't typically like a whole lot of people showing up to the scene, which, okay, that's fine. But it's up to you guys to respond. And so that's how field reps, we notify them day or night, 2:00 in the morning, Saturday night, it doesn't matter. And so we tend to know our directors and our executive staff fairly well. So talk about the most impactful thing or event since you've served on the Tmpa board that really just makes your jaw drop. I can recall a situation with me where I had a member, a non-member actually called me one day and said, man, I just want to let you know that I dropped you guys and went with Texas Law Shield. And I just had, my house is burned down. I'm sitting in a hotel room in Seguin, Texas with my wife and my 3 kids. I have nothing to go home to. My squad car was burned. All my uniforms are gone. My duty belt, my patrol boots, and I just contacted my sheriff's office, and they told me that I needed to buy all my duty gear and my weapon back. And here's a guy that he was only with Tmpa like 6 or 7 months, but more importantly, he's a cop, right?
Right.
And I think it continues to serve to the mission that regardless of what's going on within our duty and within our power, anybody with Tmpa, whether it be an elected board member or a staff member, we're going to go the extra mile to do what's right for law enforcement. And so this was on a Saturday. Just so happened to get the phone call and started, making some phone calls and stuff. And by the Saturday afternoon, we had him brand new uniforms, brand new duty belt, a gun, and he was ready to hit the streets on Monday because he didn't have any time to take off in order to get everything, done. That was my first initial, oh my God moment. Like, I actually impacted a family by serving with Tmpa. Has there been a moment like that with you serving on the Tmpa board? It could have been collectively at a board meeting or a specific incident.
I'll tell you, the thing that has the most impact on me when I call afterwards, after the critical incident has happened, and you know real quick when the person on the other end of the phone, just by the way they say hello and the way that they talk to you, whether they're in a good headspace or not. And that's probably the most impactful one, is knowing the people that their administration supports them versus the ones that don't, and helping those people that don't have the support, helping them through those situations and telling them, hey, I'm here for you. You can give me that phone call day or night. I'll answer and we'll talk. We'll get it off your chest. And, those are the moments that it means the most. And that's the ones where I usually go out to the back porch. I'll light up a cigar and have that conversation with them and walk them through whatever demons they're dealing with at that point in time.
And again, for those that don't know, it's kind of y'all's, and I don't even think it's within the bylaws. It's a customary principle that the board of directors will conduct follow-ups with the member, honestly, for a couple of reasons. One, to ensure that they get everything satisfactory to their needs. The attorney showed up, field services did our job, but it also builds a relationship because it's in their region. And for whatever reason, if Luke may not have crossed paths with a Zandt County deputy or a Smith County deputy or a Longview police officer, they now have that connection. And so it's just that checklist of saying, hey, we want to make sure that you're taken care of and you're okay. But back to your point on the mental health aspect, something that law enforcement historically has not been talked about for a number of years. I've gone through a stint of it. I can't speak for you on your stint of it, but we all suffer some aspect. The average person typically goes through 3 critical incidences over their lifetime. The average American police officer statistically is like over 250 to 300.
Yeah. We talked, this was actually, I just got back from the National Academy, and that was one of the things that we talked about with mental health is normal average human or average American, they'll have 2 to 3 major critical incidents in their life, where when you look at the career of a law enforcement personnel, it's 600 plus is what they were, the numbers they were giving us. So I would agree with you. Mental health is something that we do need to spend a lot of time and get officers comfortable talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well, if you're wanting to reach out, Luke again is in East Texas, but I mean, he like I am willing to help out anybody across the state. So if you're in a dark spot, if you need some help, feel free to reach out to us. Again, our number is 1-800-848-2088. And we are here to help you. Luke, I want to hear what's the best day on the job and what's the worst day on the job?
Well, the worst day is anytime that I have to deal with a kid. And when I say dealing with one of those kid situations, and you know what I'm talking about. Those are the worst days. Those are the days that one will touch you. Flip side to that is also some of the happiest times is dealing with kids and seeing that smile. You know, at the police department, we used to do bike rodeos, and you would go out into the community and teach kids how to ride bikes and teach them the stop signs, different traffic laws and stuff pertaining to the bikes, and giving them a helmet. Sometimes it was their first helmet, or, you know, even when we do the Blue Santa, I love the Blue Santa, getting to see kids that are struggling, kids that are they just haven't been dealt the best hand in life at this age. And you take them to, like I said, the Blue Santa, and you give them the money and let them go buy whatever it is they want. And I'll tell you, that's probably one of the most heartfelt situations, is where you see a kid that you've given him money and it's like, hey, go buy whatever you want. Instead of going and buying toys like normal kids do, they go over to the food aisle and they start buying groceries. And you ask them, you know, hey, what are you doing? It's like, I want to make sure that I have something to eat tonight, or I want to make sure that my brother and sister or my parents have something to eat. So they're buying groceries, and, you know, we always have extra funds with us when we do those type of events. So it's like, hey, you go buy you some toys, you be a kid, we'll take care of this as well. Those are the most heartfelt.
You know, looking back on my career, I was a motor cop for about 6 years, and I think that to that 5 or 6 year mark, I was at Marshall PD. I was so concentrated on the number of citations that I had, and I kind of lost sight of really why I was there. I mean, quite honestly, where I was just looking at the number of citations and not who I was issuing the citations to. And I distinctly remember my turning point of really going, man, what the hell am I doing? Is it was on the week of Christmas. I stopped an Hispanic family there in Marshall on Highway 59, right near the Sonic. And the mom had warrants, no driver's license, no insurance. There was no seat belt. I mean, there was no car seat for the little kids. A lot of emotion going on, right? 12-year-old daughter, clearly, mom worked 2 or 3 jobs, clearly had some motherly duties whenever the mom's at work. And so the little 12-year-old girl came back and she said, officer, man, can you please help us out? It's Christmas. We don't have anything at our house. We have no food. We have no Christmas. This is really going to set us back. And I remember it was a gut-wrenching punch of going, man, is the juice really worth the squeeze here, right? I think citations serve a purpose, not saying they don't, but what am I doing, right? And so I asked her again, I said, so you're telling me you have no groceries and no presents for Christmas? She said, no, sir, we don't have a Christmas tree. And so to kind of verify, right, I didn't want to seem like the gullible moron. I said, let's go back. She was actually translating for the mom. And I said, let's go back and talk to your mom. And so she translated to her mom that I was going to follow her back to their house right outside of the city, not even, it was out in the county. And so we did this all, without the sergeant's approval. Me and 2 other guys went out there, and I shit you not, there was absolutely no groceries in the house. There were crackers that were expired, saltine crackers, and there was maybe 1 or 2, cans of Campbell's soup. We left there. The entire shift got together, and through some other donations within 2 hours, we had 6 patrol cars go out to that house with groceries, well over $500 worth of presents, because there was probably 6 or 7 more kids out there, a Christmas tree. And I remember driving back at that point going, man, that's on patrol. That was my turning point of going, I did something great today. I did something that's going to impact that family the rest of my life. And 2 weeks after that, she gave me a little bear, and the bear is actually in my office to this day. It's those moments, I think, that everybody, and I'm sure every cop out there you may have one where it's you're a turning point, and it's like, man, I need to get back to really who I am serving those communities. And so that was mine at Marshall.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think hopefully every cop has those moments.
Yeah.
Or has that situation.
Or has the opportunity to.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think we do, or I think that is a common thing amongst law enforcement.
Yes. 100% agree.
Yeah.
What would the now aged Luke Schaefer give advice to the 18 or 21-year-old Luke Schaefer about life?
So this was a conversation that you and I had. I have a list of rules that I give to all the young officers when they come on. And I just try to give them, I wouldn't say fatherly advice, but I try to give them some advice to help them start their career. Mm-hmm. One of them is taking care of their license, their certificates. They should know, take an active role in getting the next level of certificate, whatever they need. I mean, we have training coordinators, your department does, but that's not their license, and they'll do their best to help you, but you got to put some effort and take care of your license. The other one that I talk with them about is investment. You know, most of the cities or counties have a retirement system, but that's a retirement system. Start a 401k or a 457 or even a Roth, whatever it is, and contribute $100 a check or whatever it is you can. And as you mature in your career and you get raises, give your retirement a raise as well. It may not start out like a lot at first, but you figure over the course of 20, 30-year career, that amount of money will add up and compound. So invest wisely. The other one that I tell them about, and this is one of I think one of the biggest pitfalls that we have in law enforcement, is part-time work. You know, our guys go out and they get what they think is a part-time job and they start working it, and it's on a consistent basis. So it's money that they're getting every month at a certain time. So they go out and they buy a boat or a four-wheeler or a motorcycle or a new car. Well, at that point, that part-time job is no longer a part-time job, whether you want to admit it or not. It's a full-time job. Yep. So I tried to talk with them about that. That's nice money. It's good to have on the side, but don't fall into that trap. Don't go buy something based off of that salary. And then go back to college, get your degree, whether it's associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree. The state provides funds. A lot of the cities and municipalities provide funds for someone to go to college, get that degree. Because we work in a profession where you can do everything right and still lose your job just because of the optics of it or the political windfall. Yeah. So invest in yourself and make yourself better. And it'll be good for you, but it'll also be good for your department and your family as well. And then last but not least, one of the ones I really stress with the guys is keep friends outside of law enforcement.
100%.
Because when you're around a bunch of cops, all you do is talk about cop stuff. And because of our profession, we get jaded really quick, and we tend to shrink our circle to where all we have as far as friends are other cops. And that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. So I try to encourage people to keep a wide friendship base. And, you know, you got to have those conversations with those people that are not in law enforcement. Like, hey, I'm Luke. I'm not Luke the cop. So when we go out, hey, this is Luke. He works for the city. That's all you have to say. Instead of, hey, this is Luke the cop, because that causes problems or makes it awkward. So just introduce me as Luke. I would say that's probably the biggest one, is because our job, the things that we deal with and things that we see on day in, day out, is you've got to keep a friendship base of people outside of law enforcement.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you just hit it, because when you're out with your friends only, and your spouse, you start having some adult beverages and stuff, and then that's typically when, stories start getting brought up, and then it changes the mood of the entire night. That what should be exciting and fun to now, woe is me, and it's trading war stories. For those that are listening, that's typically what happens at a majority of these law enforcement conferences. It's a bunch of guys around a bar bullshitting and having a good time, but it's those kind of stories. I didn't know the difference I had some outside the profession friends in East Texas, but until I moved down here and then wasn't technically a cop, the impact that it had on my kids. We fought for a bill, or continuing to advocate for a bill that allows kids to transfer school districts because of their parents service, and so it's for that reason, right? Because you're a cop and people label you, and it's just a bad situation. But that's definitely solid advice. Definitely solid advice. I'm going to 3 rapid fire questions.
All right.
And if you're friends with Ken Gardner, I hope you answer these correctly, because he did not.
It's Ken.
What's your favorite cop movie or line from a cop movie? What's your favorite cop car? And what's your favorite drink of choice?
So we were talking about it. We actually listened to that podcast on the way in. I would say mine is Tombstone. But
that's a good one.
I started laughing about it because also Police Academy.
That's a good one too.
I'm a jokester. I love playing jokes and having fun at work. When Clint said that, I was like, that is actually a really good one.
Yeah.
I agree with him. I love that one, but also I love Tombstone.
What's your favorite cop car?
Crown Vic.
Yeah, my man. Thank you. I'm loving to call Ken on the way home.
I'm sympathetic to that. That big V8.
Yeah, man. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
I agree.
It's a workhorse. It's a workhorse. What's your favorite drink of choice when you're enjoying some Luke time with mama?
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
Yep.
I got you.
Sweet tea.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. It's typical East Texas. That's the East Texas drink of the South. So,
yes, sir.
Man, did we cover everything that you wanted to cover today, or do you want to leave anybody with anything from Luke?
No, I think we've covered everything. The only thing that I would say is, if you ever need anything, please reach out to Tmpa. Just call the 1-800 number. Even if it's just to talk to somebody. Always keep a line of communication. Always keep somebody that you can call on the burner. Yeah,
I think the perception of Tmpa sometimes is just that we're just a legal defense, right? We're just the people you call when you shoot somebody, and it's farthest from the truth. When you guys are struggling and there are situations going on, personal and professional, this is, in my opinion, when I came on, I didn't realize it then, but in my perception, Tmpa is really a big family, and if you need resources out there. Again, professional or personal, let us at least lean on us or reach out to us and see if we can assist, and we certainly can do everything we can. But he is 100% right. If you need anything from Tmpa or anything in life, just give us a shout. See if we can help you out. So,
I'm glad you brought that up a minute ago too about the Tmpa conference. That I highly encourage everybody to come to one of our conferences. It's a family-oriented event.
Yep.
So. What I mean by that is, don't just come by yourself or with fellow officers. Bring your wife, bring your kids, because we have family activities, family events scheduled, and we want everybody to be there so you can see that yes, this is a family-oriented organization, and we like to have fun and also give your kids and your wives, your spouses, somebody else to talk to that they understand the culture and they understand what's going on.
Yeah, for a fact. And it's going to be in Dallas this year. I don't know how the specific dates haven't been released yet. We're going to push those out just as soon as we can. But man, I can't thank you enough for coming down. You and your lovely wife drove down here from Tyler, and you guys are going to head back here shortly. But you've always been a good friend of mine, and I enjoyed seeing you more often whenever I was in East Texas. But now that I'm down here, I only get to see you really at board of director meetings and then conference and the Peace Officer Memorial. So it's always a good time to see old Luke Shafer.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, you guys take care. Listen, it's Friday night light season. Thank God we are back into football Fridays, and I am pumped about that. So for those parents right now that are experiencing the fall sport atmosphere, I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope your kiddos succeed in everything that they want to succeed this school year, and I hope they have a great school year as well. You guys take care. Stay safe.